Imagine this. Your legs are throbbing, your shoulders are beginning to cramp, and you feel as though your lower back is about to give in. However, your hours of waiting in line finally pay off. You get your hands on the newly anticipated Galaxy Note 7. You peel back the plastic from the glistening glass screen and turn on the phone to be greeted by the welcoming Samsung logo. You get home and invest hours studying its new features and syncing the data from your previous Galaxy S6. You then carefully place the phone on your nightstand for charging. Not shortly after, your nostrils are infiltrated by the awful smell of burnt plastic, and to your horror, you see the phone screen melting. You continue to watch as the phone bursts into flames. You frantically smother the phone with an old t-shirt. And you're now down $1,500 with an exploded phone, and basically you promise yourself that you will never ever buy another Samsung product ever again. Unfortunately, this was the case for many people around the world, and if your phone hadn't exploded yet, it was probably overheated. And if it wasn't overheated, it was now an extreme hazard and could not be allowed onto flights. The company was now an extreme inconvenience to all Note 7 owners, as they had to be recalled due to safety issues. But let's take a look back at how such a large company made such a vital mistake. Firstly, Samsung exists within the technology industry, and the industry is very competitive. The competition in the technology industry in Australia can be characterised as an oligopoly. The industry is dominated by very few large businesses. The barrier to entry is extremely high due to the amount of capital and market presence required to compete. However, in Australia, the competition faced by Samsung is much more of a duopoly, whereby there are only really two large firms that dominate the industry, each enjoying their smaller versions of monopolies as each business has their set of loyal customers. Obviously, this is referring to Apple and Samsung. These two companies take up just under 72% of the total market share, with the remaining 28% being larger amounts of smaller yet not so small firms in the likes of LG and Sony, each sharing less than 3% and 2% of the market share respectively. Amongst the two giants, Samsung is still dwarfed in comparison, with only 16.7% of the total market share to the huge 55% of the market share that is Apple. So it's quite evident that Samsung must make some pretty big moves to not be swallowed by Apple. Big mobile companies are almost forced to constantly innovate, upgrade technology, and add more features to stay relevant to consumers, as consumers in this industry are always looking to purchase the newest and best phone available. The Samsung Galaxy line and the iPhone line encapsulate this idea. The two product lines have been in a fierce battle to release the best versions of their products, most notably in the past 5 years. Now with that in mind, let's look at exactly why the Note 7 was exploding. Well, statements from various media sources claim that the batteries made from the two suppliers contained flaws, allowing the phones to overheat and in some cases catch fire. It was also cited that there was limited room between the heat-sealed protective pouch around the battery and its internals. Now, this gets very technical, but the point is that Samsung mostly pointed to manufacturing failures as the source of the problem. However, the real issue is that Samsung were pushing their technological limits and were rushing the Note 7 to market before the iPhone 7. Aggressive design choices were also causing issues. For example, the separator was made extremely thin, which sits between two electrodes and can cause fires if it breaks down. Samsung's choice to push the limits on battery technology left little room for error, and in this case was causing extreme overheating and fires. Cases of the Note 7 catching fire began emerging on social media, and not shortly enough, it caught the attention of everyone on the globe. Every news source under the sun reported on the topic. CNN Tech, ABC, Wired, Forbes, the list is endless. The issue also appeared on every medium possible over every country, with YouTube clips getting millions of views, and it didn't take long before the Note 7 became a global internet joke, with numerous memes and clips poking fun at the exploding phone. During the third quarter of 2016, which is when the exploding incidents began, Samsung saw a $3 billion decrease in revenue from its previous year's third quarter, with many sources claiming that the recall costs to be anywhere between $3 to $5 billion. However, the biggest cost is the loss of opportunity, as Samsung discontinues the Galaxy Note 7. Samsung mobiles usually bring in $1 billion of revenue on average. However, Samsung now loses out on the opportunity to make this revenue, as they must cover the cost of recalls and customer compensations. And worst of all, the cost of customers leaving Samsung to purchase from other companies. Due to all this, Apple nearly doubled Samsung's revenue in the mobile business in 2016. Now, this is looking pretty grim for Samsung. However, there is still light at the end of the tunnel. The embarrassment of the Note 7 was quickly accepted by Samsung officials and used to fuel the next models to be bigger and better. Samsung now had the huge task of revitalizing consumer trust. They released many apology statements. Although an apology is necessary for such a large mistake, it's not enough to bring Samsung back to normal terms. Samsung understood this and went further to bring back trust. Alongside the launch of the Galaxy 8, Samsung announced the new 8-point battery safety check for following devices, going beyond industry standard to create ultimate safety for customers. This was told through various social media videos being played throughout YouTube and Facebook. The video used great lighting and colors to display insightful clips of stress testing, X-rays, and other forms of testing Samsung will now undergo to ensure ultimate safety throughout their following products. This is all in order to gain the trust of their customers. With that, the S8 experienced company record pre-sales, and furthermore, the following model in the S9 reportedly is beating the S8 for sales. So, the company seems to be back on track for steady growth, and it's pretty safe to say that the memories of the Note 7 seem to be long forgotten by consumers.